Hello, welcome to Clash of the Rams, the sports talk show. I'm your host, Jeremy Hayes. Along with me, we have Jared Doherty.
How you doing?
Ryan Chevy Chevalier.
Tom Brady took a measly $27 million contract. I wish I had that money.
Oh, sorry. Daveson Perez.
Back again.
And Mike McMahon. All right, guys, we're going to jump right into it. Talking about last night, Montreal Canadiens defeated the Boston Bruins, which was a shock for some people, but for the Canadiens, they're top the East right now. So what are your thoughts, Jared?
Basically, last night it was your typical Montreal-Boston game, but surprisingly, the Bruins lose 4-3 when Carey Price was not starting, so that's a little bit of a shock, basically to start out.
All right, Mike?
Well, yeah, no, like Jared said, it was definitely a typical Montreal-Boston game where Boston led in shots, hits, face-off wins, takeaways, and lost the game somehow. You know, it was kind of one of those things where the Canadiens were able to get a couple, I call them garbage goals because that's what they were, and get a couple calls to go their way. And the Bruins dropped one that I think they should have taken. You know, the Canadiens played their backup goaltender, like Jared said, which is kind of disrespect. You know, they're tied for the top of the Eastern Conference. You would think that you would see their best. But they threw their backup goalie out there, and they were able to get away with a win, which is a big win for the Habs. And hopefully the Bruins, you know, don't make a habit out of losing games like that.
You say get away with a win. I just want to make sure you're saying because of the game, right? Not because of Montreal as a team. As in Montreal isn't that good of a team, but you're saying that the Bruins should have won the game last night because they had the lead.
Yeah, I mean, if Carey Price was in net last night and the Bruins lose 4-3, I mean, I'd be like, okay, because Carey Price is having a great season. And he's been a great goaltender, and they've been a better team. They're a much improved team this season. So, I mean, yeah, the win wasn't that surprising, but I'm disappointed that they lost a backup goaltender.
So does Montreal's win against Boston kind of make Montreal the team to beat in the East now, or is it still Boston, even though, how you said they got away with some?
Well, you know, I think it's kind of in the East right now. It's kind of like a three-team thing. You look at Boston, Montreal, and Pittsburgh. Those are kind of the three teams in the East right now. And, you know, Montreal, with their win last night, I mean, you kind of have to say that they're kind of top dog, even though they did lose to the Penguins 7-6 in overtime the night before the Bruins game last night.
Yeah, especially. And the good thing to look at, though, for the Bruins, with Montreal taking the lead now in points, the Bruins have also played about 2 or 3 less games than Montreal, so don't think that this Bruins-Montreal collision in Montreal going over is a big thing saying Montreal's above, because it's still very tight, very close. This game could have gone either way, so it's not a really significant showing of which team's better yet. I still think it's going to be interesting down the road, see how each team delivers and goes throughout the season. I don't think it's clear yet that Montreal is above Boston, but they're both right there, which is good. It's very good for this rivalry.
Right.
And do you think this rivalry is actually one of the best in sports? Montreal and Bruins have been going at for years now.
Oh, yeah. It's probably the best. This Bruins-Montreal rivalry is probably the best rivalry in sports. I can't think of a rivalry that's even close second. Just the fans are completely into it. The players are completely into it. It's just exciting all around. Being a part of it in Boston, watching it, it's very exciting to watch.
I mean, you'd probably put, you know, like a Yankees-Red Sox is right there too, obviously. But, you know, even with the Yankees and the Red Sox, when they play, there's dull games mixed in there.
Yeah.
You know, there's always, you know, some game where just nothing happens. It's an 8-1 game. You know, no one gets beamed or whatever. Bruins Habs, even when it's 5-1, someone gets in a fight. There's something happens. You know, it's chippy. It's chippy play. It's aggressive play, and it's never boring. I'm never bored watching Montreal play Boston.
Exactly. I mean, that could come down to also hockey versus baseball,
I was
which
just
is more
going to
exciting.
say that, yeah.
Baseball game compared to hockey is 2 different levels right there. But, I mean, you're right. Bruins, Canadiens, both of them, every player is showing their complete heart. Who was thinking Sean Thornton was going to get in a fight that game, even if he's coming off his concussion, hasn't been in a fight yet? Who thought he was going to get right into a fight with somebody in the first minute? It was just that energy. And I read something online that just the fans outside the game, before the game, were circling around the Garden, which has never been done before. It's just everyone was so into this game. And that's what hockey's all about in the end with this giant rivalry. And it's amazing. Anytime Montreal and then the Bruins get together, everyone's glued to the TV waiting for this, because you know there's going to be a fight, there's going to be some crazy thing happening. And then, yeah, basically.
All right, we're gonna step away from the Bruins for a second and just talk about the NHL as a whole. And right now, it looks like Montreal and Chicago are the 2 top teams. But the NHL right now, we're coming close to that mid-season point. It's a shorter season. So what do you think to look forward to for the rest of the season? Are they still going to be the top teams, or what do you think of the rest of the league compared to those teams?
Basically, I think, yes, Boston, Montreal, Chicago, Penguins are all going to be the top teams at the end of the season. I don't see any of these teams drifting away. And also, speaking of teams that are doing good now but are probably going to slightly fall apart, Carolina. That's a team that has been horrible. And all of a sudden, they're finally doing good, and then Cam Ward's injured. So there goes Carolina. How about the Capitals? The Capitals are probably the worst team in the league right now, the most disappointing team in the league at least. The Capitals should be up there, and they're just not. So what do you think?
Yeah, I don't think it's so much going to be a thing of teams falling apart. You know, I think the teams that are at the top right now, Chicago, Boston, Montreal in the East, and then you got Anaheim, and then I said Chicago already in the West. I don't think they're going to fall off, but I think you're going to see more teams come alive. The Rangers have struggled so far. I really have a hard time not seeing them not in the playoffs. So I think that if they could sneak in there as an 8 seed, I mean they're a contender. You look at what the Kings did last year. I think they were an 8 seed, and they won the cup. So it's pretty much with the short season, you got to get in the playoffs, and anything can happen. Because I think the Rangers are still a team that they're a force still in the East, even though they've struggled.
Real quick, I just wanted to say, because you both mentioned it, I noticed you mentioned 4 teams are legit teams, and 3 out of the 4 were East
Exactly
teams.
what I was going to say. In the Northeast, the Bruins, Montreal, Toronto, and Ottawa, all in the top 8 in points, all in the Northeast. And then the last team, Buffalo. Despite
slight drop off.
Yeah, slight drop off. I mean, despite Vanek there's nothing going for Buffalo. But I mean, still, those 4 teams, all right in the top 8. Even Toronto, it's exciting. So it's a very close divisional round. It's going to make the rest of the season, the short season, very exciting.
And let's just say this, that the East, the people who are on the bubble of getting into the playoffs, that's what you're talking about with the I feel like that would happen in the East more likely in the West, where an 8 seed would be able to.
In the East, you got the Rangers, and then the Flyers are right there. I think they're in 8th right now. They just got to 500 for the first time in the season. And they're 2 historically, the past 5 years, they're playoff teams. They're contenders. So I expect that to happen again. Whereas in the West, kind of, 9 through, let's say, 12 in the West isn't as good as 9 through 12 in the East.
All right, we actually got to move on to our next topic, but good job, guys. And our next topic, we're talking about something that everybody loves, money, right? Money? No, only greedy people.
If only I had some.
Yeah, not money like these guys. Joe Flacco and Tom Brady got their big contracts. Big. For some people view Tom Brady's as big, others don't, but that's what we're going to discuss. So what do you think about Flacco's contract compared to Tom Brady's? Joe?
Joe Flacco, after winning the Super Bowl with the Ravens, gets that giant contract. I like it. I mean, sure, it sounds absurd right now. It sounds absurd with 6 years, 160. It sounds absurd. 120, man. I mean, it sounds absurd on paper right now, but he does deserve money in a contract, but is it really going to last that long anyways? Is it going to be really that 6-year contract anyways in the end? So basically what you're saying.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, and I mean, it's really just the league. It's the NFL. It's all about money and everything. But I like the Patriots, how they're going to take aside this idea, and they're going to have Brady take a salary cut. And Brady is making a good decision because they can make their defense better, get a wide receiver in, maybe re-sign Welker. And, Flacco, he's taking a big cut out of pay. And I remember even the Saints fans with Drew Brees, they were talking about how he's taking a huge amount of the Saints' salary, and they're not able to sign anyone on defense. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know about Flacco. I think that it's always risky in the NFL or any league to give a guy a huge contract because usually they don't live up to their potential.
All right. Daveson?
Very good point. Flacco with the whole contract situation, getting 126 years, obviously it's going to be restructured because that's just how the league works. But still, I hate the idea of selling him such a false dream. Like he's not gonna attain. You know what I mean? They're gonna promise him 120 million. They're gonna agree to 120 million. But then at the end of the day, they're gonna say, "Oh, all right, we're just gonna take away 3 years from that contract and give you less money anyways." And there's another point that I wanted to touch on about Brady and his contract situation. I think it is good the way that they structured it because it gives them more flexibility of acquiring better talent. And that also leads me to another point about the contract situation with Flacco, and that they're offering him so much money that they're letting other pieces go. You know what I mean? They're using most of their salary to pay him, and they're going to let players like Ed Reed and Charles Kruger go. So, like, it's a tough situation. You know what I mean?
Okay. So the NFL contracts annoy me because it's not like baseball where A-Rod signs this big deal. That's what he's going to get paid. Joe Flacco isn't going to make $120, yeah. $120 million over the next 6 seasons. He's not going to make that money. He's only guaranteed, I think, $52
million.
Okay, and his cap hit for 2013 is $6.8 million. You know what Tom Brady's is? $13.8 million. Tom Brady is counting more against the Patriots than Joe Flacco is against the Ravens in 2013. So Brady isn't saving salary room this season for the Patriots. Joe Flacco is actually saving more than half. So the Ravens can still go out and sign Ed Reed, which is probably going to be a 1-year deal. They can sign Eberle, is that his name? The linebacker? Eberle. They can re-sign him. They can still do that. And, and then I think that the Brady contract hurts Wes Welker because Wes Welker wants more than Brady. The Patriots aren't going to pay Wes Welker more money than Tom Brady. They're not going to do that.
Let's be honest, though. It's so easy to say, oh, they're going to sign Ed Reed to a 1-year contract. Ed Reed's going to take less money as going to
the kind of player that Ed Reed is. He's going to take less money with the Ravens when there are other teams in the league that could possibly want of course they'd love Ed Reed in the squad.
I mean, Ed Reed's not going to get paid top line money though because of his age.
True. That's definitely a factor.
He's not gonna sign a blockbuster deal or anywhere if he tested the market. He's not.
Careful, because this NFL draft sucked. Like, let's be honest, it sucked. And teams are looking to invest more money in free agents and players that are available.
You don't think Baltimore would draft a really good safety over signing Ed Reed to a bigger contract?
Yeah, I guess. But what I'm trying to say, though, is that Flacco's deal it doesn't affect the Ravens as much short-term as people think it does. It's a long-term thing. His cap hit doesn't really become that, that large until, I think, 2016 when it's a $29 million cap hit, which it's never going to get to. They're going to restructure his contract before that because that's how the NFL works. They restructure all their contracts. Brady did it in 2010.
What's the most recent one, too? Calvin Johnson. Everybody went crazy because it was the highest contract, but that was 8 years. Yeah. So we gotta be honest, 8 years. He's not going to change or adjust his contract.
These contracts get restructured.
So I get what you're saying with Brady, but with Flacco's contract, but with Brady's, as far as he's not necessarily taking less as far as a hit. But which do you think is better for the team, though, for the contract?
Which contract do I think is better for the team?
Yeah, which helps that team more.
Honestly, I think Brady's is. And I'm going to focus more on why Flacco's is so negative for his team. I mean, I feel like it's kind of idiotic to put so much money into one player and not put money into his backup. Who is going to play quarterback if he gets injured in those 6 years? Can you think of the backup?
Dude, Troy Smith.
Is he good?
Is
he good enough to carry the team? A team that just got off a championship run? I don't think so. I think they should have invested their money a lot better than they did.
All right, before we move on, I'm going to send it this way, let you guys just get some final words.
Yeah,
go ahead, right?
I mean, it's just about Flacco getting a lot of money for this. And, Brady, he, takes a little bit of cut, but if he's going to get paid most of it, as you said, in the later years, then maybe it won't hurt the team right now, but they're still offering him a huge amount of money. So why even really make the deal? I mean, I know he, won the Super Bowl, but it's just that it's almost too much with all the money that goes throughout the league. If you're just sign him to what you're going to sign him, and then you don't have to restructure deals, and you don't have to, even trade guys or get rid of them because
I'll send it to Mike now. Go back to Jared.
Okay. Well, Flacco's earned this money. He definitely has. You look at his past 2 years in the playoffs, his passer rating, 90, 96, 117. You know what that's better than? Tom Brady. So that right there. He deserves the money. I'm not saying he's better than Tom Brady, but he's earned.
How many championships has he?
I feel like everybody
in the past 3 years more than Tom Brady. So you know what? He's earned.
Championship-wise? I mean,
in the last 3 years, Joe Flacco's won more Super Bowls than Tom Brady has.
In the totality of his career, though.
I mean, Flacco's earned the right to to get paid. It's his payday. It's his time. You know, if Brady were
The
28,
highest
But at
paid
the end of the
if
day-
quarterback.
Brady were 28
At the expense
and
of
he had
his
just
team?
come off a really great playoff run, he would have been looking at the same type of contract. It's just because they're
I
at two
don't
different
think so.
points in their career.
I think they're two
Brady's
different
made his
organiza-
money. It's time
I
for
think
Flacco to
they're-
make his.
I think they're two different organizations, and I think at the end of the day, Tom Brady's deal wouldn't have been the same as Flacco's.
It would have been
But
around the
I
same
don't-
proportion.
But let's be honest. You're talking about how that's how the NFL is and everything, but you're honestly saying Flacco deserved the money
A big
after
contract?
winning
Yes,
one
Flacco,
Super Bowl.
Flacco absolutely
deserved the
deserves a
money.
big contract.
at the expense of his team. Like the team is gonna collapse just because of
Just
Flacco.
like Brees.
You know what I mean?
Brees
Like
and the Saints,
you-
their
you-
defense totally fell apart.
I mean, you could say that though because that had a lot to do with the bounty.
That
the bounty gate.
That didn't have a ton to do
Yes,
with
it
the
did. They lost their coaching staff. I
But
mean,
you're
so
not-
That had a lot to do with it. That's
But
so
what
that's a
about
whole
the
different
players
thing
like
now.
Tracy Porter, all these all-stars who really became nothing everywhere else, and then they went somewhere else, but you don't talk about that. You think of the bounty people, but they lost them, and now the defense is totally horrible.
Yeah, okay, but saying that Tom Brady's all noble and respectable because he's taking this pay cut down the road, Brady's made his money already. It's time for Flacco to get paid. He hasn't yet. This is Flacco's time to shine. Brady's made a ton of money, and he's got a wife who makes $45 million a year. The last thing Tom Brady needs is money. Flacco, on the other hand, hasn't had a big contract yet. This is Flacco's payday, and he's earned it. It's not like he's played like crap the last 3 years.
And really quick, this is the difference between two organizations here. It's not about Flacco and Brady. It's like you have the Patriots who are conservative and always, trying to work
the
cap, work the budgets. And then you have the Ravens who, we just won a Super Bowl. Let's give this guy a huge they're in a new experience. They never experienced this before. The Patriots
Not
have
for a
been
couple
through
years.
this. So I feel like Robert Kraft and Belichick, they plan a little.
And at the end of the
bit
day,
better
if you're
for
gonna
the
think
future.
about extensions and restructuring contracts and things, then think about everybody that contributed in the Super Bowl for the Ravens. You got Jones who had 108 kick return. You have Torrey Smith who played not Torrey Smith. Torrey Smith.
Anquan Boldin.
Well, you have Anquan Boldin, thank you.
Yeah.
You have Anquan Boldin who played phenomenally. You have all these other players who deserve that money as well. So you're gonna give all of your money to Flacco and you're gonna forget about all the guys that he was throwing to.
All right, I'm gonna send it over to Jared that we have to move on.
6.8. They can still play those guys.
Basically, I agree with Mike. I think Flacco deserves money. It's his time. Let's see how it goes. And obviously, maybe in 3 years down the line, if he sucks, then whatever. He had his time. We'll see how it goes. He won the Super Bowl, and now it's time for him to deliver after it and see how he goes. This is Joe Flacco's time to really prove who he is.
All right, I think we all agreed on. No, I think we all disagreed on a lot of that, but I mean that's pretty good.
That's the point of the discussion.
That's what it's about. So, a good segment though. We're gonna move on to game time now, which is simple, true or false. Very easy. I'm gonna say a statement, and then you're each gonna have about 20 seconds to either say true or false and tell me why. All right. So you guys ready? I'm gonna send it over to you, Mike. First, you'd like to talk today. So I'm gonna
I
send
haven't
it.
been on in a while,
Yeah, you get back in the game. All right, so we're going to send it over to you with the first question. The Miami Heat 14-game winning streak is meaningful. True or false?
Well, I think true. The Heat have kind of solidified themselves as the team to beat. And, you look, yesterday, they dominated the Knicks in the second half. And, the Knicks have been another contender in the East. So, it's kind of been, they're solidifying themselves, with the streak.
All right,
I'm also going to say true. They took out the Knicks last night. They put a cap on the Knicks recently, really in the second half in yesterday's game. So that means a lot to me that they beat that team at this juncture in the season.
All right, and I'm actually going to say false, but for a reason you probably don't think I'm going to say. I'm saying false because even if they lost like 3 games, they'd still be the best team in the league. I mean, let's be honest, they'd be one of the best teams in the league. I'm still with the Spurs right now, but still.
Yeah, right.
But still, you get what I'm saying? 3 games, they'd
Yeah.
still be a dominant team. So the win streak isn't that crucial. All right.
Well, I'm going to say true because Miami, they're not running through really weak teams. They played the Thunder this week. They played Clippers, Hawks. Hawks are pretty good, and the Bulls.
Yeah.
So these are legitimate teams who are contenders, and they've been doing pretty well holding their ground. And so, yeah, I think this is a good stretch, especially when they're trying to get into the playoffs and make a run. Yeah.
All right. Jared Flacco?
Hey, Jared Flacco. But I'm not a basketball guy, but honestly, 13-game winning streak, obviously true. It's a very significant. They're clearly one of the best teams in the league.
All right, so we're going to move on to our next question. I'm going to send it over to you, Jared, this time first. And the question is, true or false, Tuukka Rask is a top goaltender in hockey?
Despite what Mike will say in the future,
Hockey?
yes,
Come on.
true. Tuukka Rask is an elite goaltender. Yes, the Bruins have probably the best defense in the league and have had the best defense in the league since Chara's been there. But Tuukka Rask is still an elite goalie, despite that.
All right,
I think he's elite too, true, because he has 11 wins. He's one of the lead leaguers right now, and he also only has given up just under 2 goals a game, which is a very good number, a decent number for a goalie. So I think they'll have a bright future with Tuukka Rask.
All right. I've thought very hard, but I have to say true. I just think he is at that state already. He's one of the top goalies. He's shown it with his numbers, and I think he can continue to be one of the top goalies.
I'm going to have to say false, just based on the limited knowledge that I have of Tuukka Rask and the fact that he's been in the league for 4 years and this is his first year starting. I don't want to be completely sold on him yet because he still has a lot to prove. Granted, he's been playing well now. That's a given. But I still want to see more. I still want to see if he continues that play next year and the year after that. So, there's still some questions there.
You sound like me with like LeBron James and everything.
Oh,
Yeah, here we go.
let's
we'll
not
talk
debate
about that
now.
later. Yeah.
I'm actually going to surprise myself by saying false as well because, I think that Tuukka Rask, granted, I think he's a very solid goaltender. I think he's a goaltender you can make a playoff run with. But I think that Tuukka Rask tends to play as well as his defense plays in front of him. The Bruins are a very defensive-minded team. Claude Julien is a great defensive coach. And I think that the Bruins' defense have helped out Rask a lot. And they've helped that growing process. Granted, I think Rask will eventually be there within the next 2-3 years. He's going to be elite, but right now he's not quite there. You can see he still lets in some cheap goals.
And we have 2 legitimate reasons, so there's no wrong answer necessarily, but agree to disagree.
Yeah.
And
Sounds
agree
good to
too.
me.
I agree with
Just like
all
what we
what
do
you
with
said.
LeBron James.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so final question. I'm going to send it back to you, Jared. Randy Moss, best receiver of all time. It's hard saying it without even laughing, but go ahead.
Obviously false. I just don't think Randy Moss is at all the best wide receiver in the game, and there's so many reasons why, and just simply no. It's false.
Simply
there's
right.
no.
Well, Randy Moss thinks he is, but I'm going to say false because Randy Moss, Jerry Rice is just overall better receiver. He has better stats throughout his career. And not to take anything away from Moss, he's been a great receiver in this league for many years. Revolutionized the game, but definitely Jerry Rice has him beat.
All right, I'm gonna have to say false too, but I think he is the best deep threat of all time. I think it's kind of a good way to send him out, the way that he's saying he's the best and everybody knows he's not. I think that's typical Randy Moss and the world. Randy Moss versus the world.
Definitely, I say false. By the way. I think most of us are gonna say, all of us are gonna say false. But Randy Moss, he is the second best of all time. Let's be honest. He is a very good deep threat, but he lacks the ability to come through when he needs be, just like Jerry Rice. And Jerry Rice, he was just that player that he could look at the other guy on the other side of the line of scrimmage and say, I'm going to beat you downfield, and I'm going to get the game-winning touchdown. Randy Moss wasn't that kind of player during his career, so I don't agree with that.
All right, Mike?
I'm going to say false as well. I mean, I'll say he's the best wide receiver of the 21st century so far.
All right.
But I mean, Jerry Rice. I mean, Ryan said it. That's really all you need.
Just
to say.
simple, yeah.
False, and then Jerry Rice.
Yeah.
That's very simple.
All right, good job on game time, guys. And now we're going to move on to our Ram rants. I'm going to send it over to Jared first, actually.
3 in a row. Here we go.
Yeah. So if you're ready, take it away.
All right. This is going to dip back to late last week, and there was something. I don't know if you guys are familiar with sports talk shows like 98.5 The Sports Hub versus WEEI. Rich Shernleib, Tetra and Rich, the morning show for 98.5 The Sports Hub, who has dominated the ratings forever now since the Sports Hub came around. Rich Shernleib's wife, Mary, was diagnosed with cancer. 80% of her body was covered in cancer. And then Rich was out for a few weeks, and he returned on Thursday. And Daveson Perez, the WEEI show, who is dead in ratings now, they suck. They decide that what they're going to do is the day that Rich is going to come back and give an update on his wife, that he's going to hype up, that he's going to go on a rant about somebody, and they go on a rant about Tetra and Rich. That's horrible. That is sickening, and I'm glad that Rich's wife, in the end, happy story, was cleared free of cancer. In a little more than 2 weeks, her body was 80% covered in cancer. 16 days later, cancer-free. Amazing.
Wow, that is amazing.
That's a hard one to follow up, but go ahead, Ryan.
That's a great story. I'm going to play off of the whole Brady-Flacco contract thing and talk about what Sports Center actually put out. So I'm going to call them out a little here. They put up a thing saying how Brady was unselfish for taking $27 million. For a common person, an average person, $27 million, you got to use your wording correctly. And I think media has to get this straight, because you say something like unselfish, and a lot of people are going to take offense to that, because $27 million is not unselfish. And I'm just going to talk about all sports, because ever since like Ted Williams signed his first $100,000 deal, that basically has revolutionized this whole thing into getting big contracts for any kind of sports players. So yeah, I hate the fans who say, oh well, they make so much and doctors should be making more, because they're making the money off of fans going to the games, so that's part of them. But this is just about the media has to use their words correctly and not say unselfish, because the common person is not going to take that as an acceptable thing to say.
All right, those are two pretty deep topics. Mine is pretty simple, but all I want to talk about. All I want to talk about today was the Oakland Raiders. I write for rantsports.com, and I cover the Oakland Raiders. And there are talks right now about the Oakland Raiders being interested in Geno Smith, quarterback from West Virginia, which would be an interesting pickup. He's the best quarterback in this very weak draft. Any other draft, I think he'd go in third round. But a lot of fans are complaining about drafting him because they have Carson Palmer. And I'm pretty much up in arms about why you would want Carson Palmer, or even think that Carson Palmer is going to win you a Super Bowl. So if you're the Oakland Raider fans, I don't know what little fantasy world of your bad team you're living in, but realize that this would be a good thing if you got anyone other than Carson Palmer, the 31-year-old who has really done nothing for you or in his career.
I think you just lost some readers there.
Yeah, bring back
Yeah, I think so.
Daveson?
Brian Cashman, what is wrong with you, man? Brian Cashman broke his ankle, I should say, skydiving. First of all, why are you skydiving? Like, what is the matter with you? You should be focused on running your injury-plagued team and getting A-Rod back to be a mirror of himself of what he was in 2009. Like, let's go. Come on, like,
Being competent.
like what is wrong with you? Take care of yourself, man. Shit.
All right, for me, I kind of got I got two things with the NHL. First, just a little bit on Claude Julien. You know, with the loss of the Habs last night, he kind of came out and he went on a rant about the Habs embellishing penalties and stuff like that. Which, you know, that's one thing. If the Bruins won last night, they lost last night, kind of handled a little bit better. I don't like the whole complaining thing. And then again with the NHL, the whole realignment proposal in the NHL. I don't know if you guys heard about it, but they want to split up the conferences into two separate divisions, and they would be uneven. One division would have 8, the other one would have 7. It's just a mess. It's a simple solution that they made really complicated, typical NHL. So, Bateman, get it together, dude. Come on.
All right. That was pretty interesting rants all around. So, I mean, that's all that we have for here today. Studio 73. We'll see you guys after spring break.
Adios.
Spring break.
Spring break.